include domain archaea, domain bacteria, and domain eukarya. We have covered domain archaea and domain bacteria in our previous lectures. For those lectures, you can go to those videos in which we have discussed in detail about domain bacteria and domain archaea. Today we are going to discuss about domain eukarya. Domain eukarya is the most complex, most advanced domain in the classification system. In this domain, all the organisms or cells, those cells and those organisms are present which are made up of or they comprise of eukaryotic type of cell. Now, what is a eukaryotic type of cell? A eukaryotic type of cell has a defined nucleus with double nuclear membrane envelope, and the genetic materials is enclosed in a nuclear envelope. So first of all these cells or organisms made up of including in domain archaea, all the organisms are made up of cells which are of eukaryotic type. That is, they have a nuclear envelope plus they have membrane bound organelles. For example, they have mitochondria, they have a chloroplast, or they have endoplasmic reticulum called G-operators, plus they have a network of skeletal system, that is cytoskeleton, consists of microfilaments and all these are membrane bound organelles which were absent in domain bacteria and domain eukarya. So these are more advanced type of cells having a defined nuclear envelope, a nuclear membrane, a boundary in which the genetic material is enclosed. Moreover, there are developed membrane bound organelles, cell organelles present which are performing their individual important functions. So, coming to the general characteristics of domain eukarya, first of all, look at the cell structure. The cells are composed of eukaryotic type of cell. So, the cell is more advanced now, which has a true nucleus, and all the organelles are membrane bound. So, they have all the organelles are membrane bound. Is that obviously the ribosomes are not, but they have membrane bound organelles. Now, coming to the second point about their genetic characteristics, that is their genetic material. So they have multiple linear chromosomes. They can have two, three, two, or four, or like that. So they have multiple linear chromosomes that are present within the nucleus. Chromosomes are present within the DNA associated with histone proteins. Moreover, the DNA, it has histone. For example, this is a cell, nuclear envelope, and this is the chromosome. It is associated with proteins called histone proteins. Histone proteins, they have two functions in their association with DNA. Obviously, the genetic material is DNA, but the histone helps in the organization and regulation of genetic material. So DNA is a long thread. If it has been placed in the nuclear envelope in the thread form or not in the compressed form, it would have been impossible for such a big molecule, complex molecule, to fit in a nuclear envelope or inside such a small space. So histone proteins, DNA is wrapped over histone. So this is histone protein, DNA is wrapped over it. So it helps in the organization of DNA. Moreover, it helps in the expression of the genetic material as well. This is a histone protein over where DNA is wrapped. For example, this is the segment of DNA that needs to be expressed, for which against a messenger RNA is to be formed. So from here, the DNA will get relaxed and a messenger RNA. Rest is same as it is binded on the histone protein. I hope I'm making my point clear. Histone helps in the organization of DNA. That is, histone, the DNA molecule is wrapped over the histone. Moreover, it helps in the expression of the genetic material as well. Only that part of the DNA is relaxed, which has to be expressed in the form of messenger RNA. So these are the two functions of histone protein. And the third point about the general characteristics of domain eukarya is reproduction. In case of domain eukarya, you can see both sexual and asexual type of reproduction. Both type of reproductions can be seen. Asexual reproduction is done by mitosis. In case of sexual reproduction, meiosis is followed by fertilization. Meiosis forms the gametes. Male and female gametes are formed with haploid number of chromosomes, and then they are fertilized and made a diploid zygote is formed. So both type of reproduction can be seen in domain eukarya. Now they have more complex cellular organization. You can see that cells, they make groups, and they can then form tissues and organs. Complex eukaryotic cells differentiate into tissues and organs which perform their specific function, and we can go on in hierarchy, that is tissue form organs, organ forms organ system, organ form systems make then a full type of organism. So these are the different types of levels of complexity in organisms. If we look at the evolutionary relationships, it has been observed that eukaryotes have been evolved from prokaryotes. That is, it is a cell which has engulfed bacteria, which was photosynthetic in nature. This bacteria is capable of doing photosynthesis. The cell engulfed this bacteria as endosymbiont, as a symbiotic relationship, and this bacteria developed into an organelle called chloroplast. And it has started to do photosynthesis for this cell. So, obviously, it's a plant cell or an algae. So, this hypothesis in which the prokaryotic cells were engulfed by these cells, and in order to make them more complex, in order to help them in their functions by symbiosis, this term is called endosymbiosis. And endosymbiosis is one of the hypotheses by which we generate this notion that eukaryotic cells have been arised from a prokaryotic cell. So in evolutionary relationship, eukaryotes have been evolved from prokaryotic cells. I hope today's lecture is clear. Let's give a quick overview. First of all, the cell structure in eukarya are of eukaryotic type. What are the features? They have membrane-bound nucleus, membrane-bound organelles. Second, genetic material is enclosed in the nuclear envelope, and there are single linear chromosomes present, which are organized and expressed by a protein called histone protein. Then look at the reproduction. They can show both types of sexual as well as asexual type of reproduction. And if you look at the complexity, yes, these cells can make groups, and they can ultimately convert into tissues and organs which perform specific functions. And then you look at the evolution relationships, they are more complex type of cells. It has been believed that they have been evolved from simple prokaryotic cells.